Hi, I'm Jane Abate, and I hope you'll call me my mentor, Jane. Not too long ago, I went on a trip to Virginia Beach, an overnight trip with a friend of mine, and as soon as we got out of the car and unloaded our luggage, I flew down to the beach. I ran off the boardwalk, pulled off my sandals, and ran to the edge of the water. I couldn't wait to let my toes sink into the sand and feel the cool water over my toes. The beach is my happy place. I love the water, the sound of the waves, the air. The beach is heaven for me. I turned to say something to my friend, and I realized not only wasn't she next to me, she's still standing up at the boardwalk. What was that about? I waved and shouted for her to get down here. And, she slowly made her way down to where I'm standing. But she stopped just before the water would touch her feet. And when I asked her what's wrong, she said, "I don't like the water. I'm afraid of it." What? I thought she liked the beach. Well, she likes the beach. She just doesn't like the water. As it turned out, on her honeymoon, she got caught in a wave and got pulled under, choked down a lot of salt water, and burned her butt on the sand when she got thrown back to the shore. So now, every time she looks at a wave, she remembers the fear and her embarrassment. So she hasn't stepped foot in the ocean since. I remember taking a few tough tumbles myself in the water, being pulled under and like rolling upside down. I'm not even sure which way I'm going, and hearing the wave and getting water up my nose or down my throat and choking on the salt water. And one time with my college friends, I even got spit back by a wave, and it pulled the bottom of my bathing suit down. Scared me to death, but my friends had a roaring laugh out of it. Two of us, a similar experience, but having two very different perspectives about it. And that reminds me how we relate to our experiences makes all the difference in life. What you take away from the choices and decisions you make or don't make, and the events and circumstances you experience, will always be your choice. That's what life is all about. And I've learned that the path to a good life teaches you to reframe your life to your advantage. My friend and I both took a bad spill in the ocean. We both were afraid at that moment. It's normal. And there's nothing wrong with having a healthy fear of the water. In fact, it's a good thing. But when we reframe a situation, we look at it in other and different ways. Reframing enables you to take on a new perspective, see other possibilities, and even change the meaning of what happened. So a perspective is only one way of looking at a situation. It can also be a box. Stereotypes are a kind of perspective. The habit we have of looking at a group of people that limits possibility. Everyone in this particular box is the same, and the expectations and assumptions that I have for those people fit all of them in that box. Women are too emotional to be good leaders. Boomers are slow to change and hate technology. Millennials feel entitled. They're difficult to manage and bad at taking criticism. Gen Zers have short attention spans, are addicted to technology, and can't handle face-to-face interactions. You can see how holding on to just one perspective doesn't give you the full picture, and you can end up missing opportunities, feeling blocked, stuck, or stalled, and really missing out on the best in relationships. That's why it's so important to develop the mindset, skills, and habits of reframing the situations, experiences, and relationships in your life. Let's practice reframing something together. I think most of us would agree that COVID has had an impact in our lives. You already are in a perspective about what that impact is, and you feel pretty confident about it. Has it had a big or small impact, a positive or negative effect? Has it been easy or hard? What's your perspective about the impact of COVID in your life? Your perspective about that impact is a very powerful filter that allows you to see only certain things. Let's say your perspective about COVID is that it's been horrible because you've had to homeschool your kids and work full time, and that's been really stressful and hard. But are there other ways of looking at this that would open up possibilities and work better for you? For example, COVID helps me understand how my kids learn best. Or COVID has challenged me to get better organized and cut out the non-value add activities in our lives. It's not that your first perspective was wrong or bad. It's only one way of looking at a situation. Often we just get stuck in a perspective that's sucking the life out of us and killing our hope. And when we see a situation as hopeless, it's really difficult to see options and make choices that lead to better outcomes. What perspective would give you the most energy to cope with homeschooling and working full-time? This is so hard, or I'm so glad I now understand why my son struggles so much with school. I hate this, or I'm so proud of how we're getting through this as a family. When you walk on the path to reframe your life, you're not ignoring or whitewashing difficult situations. You're taking charge. You're expanding your options and equipping yourself to make conscious, intentional choices that work best for you. I don't know about you, but being in charge of my life, rather than at the mercy of something I can't control, like COVID, sure sounds like a good life to me. Now here's a challenge you can try on your own till next time. Think about a situation, a decision you have to make, an upcoming commitment, or even a relationship. What's your current perspective about it? What's another way of looking at it? If you looked at it from the worst case perspective, what would you see? What's the best thing that ever happened to me perspective look like? Now, which of those perspectives will hold you back from a good life? Which one is most aligned with your values? How can you reframe this experience or relationship to allow more flow and energy and positivity in your life? Now, I have a lot more ahead on this topic of reframing your life. So if this has been valuable, I hope you'll choose to subscribe to my channel and allow me to mentor you along the path to reframe your life. I promise you that expanding your perspective, seeing other options about the meaning of things that happen in your life, will have a lasting impact on your happiness, your ability to cope with setbacks, and to take big steps forward on your journey for a good life. Now, for another perspective on this topic, stay tuned for the final word. Let's face it, stress and anxiety, they take their toll. Our mental well-being is as important as our financial and physical health. It's so important that God has something to say about it. Specifically, he said, "Don't copy the behavior and customs of this world, but let me transform you into a new person by changing the way you think. Then you'll learn to know my will for you, which is good and pleasing and perfect." That sure sounds like great directions to follow if you want a good life, don't they? The behavior and customs of this world, well, they're to jump to conclusions, think the worst, protect myself, and lay low. But that won't lead to God's best for you. Instead, ask God to help you pay attention to your thoughts and what your mind is telling you they mean. Then he can expand and change your thinking to align with his goodness, his optimism, and most importantly, his best purpose and plan for your life. God pays attention to every detail about you, including every thought, every perspective. He will help you reframe your life because He loves you and He wants the best for you. And that's the final word.